After weeks of bloody battle, Russian forces have taken the eastern Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk.
Vladimir Putin justified starting the largest war in Europe after World War II by claiming that Russia's ability to feel secure, develop, and exist was threatened by modern Western-leaning Ukraine. Since then, 13 million people have been displaced and thousands of people have died. What was it all for and how it will end remains unanswered. Curious to know? Let's find out. On February 24, Vladimir Putin ordered the Russian military to engage in a large invasion of Ukraine that he described as a special military operation. Due in great part to the bravery and perseverance of the Ukrainian army, the Russian military has fallen far short of expectations 2 weeks later. In addition to the thousands of lives already sacrificed, the fighting went on for weeks or longer. When Kyiv said it could be willing to make some concessions, the Kremlin responded negatively and stated maximalist demands as the price for a ceasefire. Following weeks of public discussion weighed down with doubt and worry over American intentions and strategies in that conflict, President Biden's essay on the Ukraine war in Tuesday's New York Times has significantly defined America's aims and goals. It provides a clear-cut constructive strategy for dealing with Russia's assault on not only Ukraine, but also on world peace, stability, and the rule of law. Democracies around the world should adopt this strategy. America's objective is clear. According to Biden's essay, we want to see a democratic, independent, affluent, and sovereign Ukraine that is equipped to fend off and repel new aggression. In contrast to negative objects aimed at Russia, such as undermining its geostrategic position or might, the US objective is expressed succinctly and positively. It conveys a strong message that is pro-Ukraine and pro-freedom rather than anti-Russia, which is essential to fortify the required alliances in opposition to the cruel assault of the Kremlin. It improves the relationship between the United States and Europe. It's also a crucial first step in gaining the backing of countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America that have been hesitant to completely reject Russia's attempt to reverse the 75-year struggle to establish an international order based on rules, according to US IP specialists. The fact that Biden's piece immediately addresses the Times editorial from May 19, asking for more clarification on American strategy suggests that its publication in the newspaper was not a coincidence. In May, a lot of pundits and academics questioned whether the battlefield surprises of the conflict's first 3 months had resulted in what the Times editorial referred to as US intentions and strategy in this war that have become harder to detect. On Tuesday, Biden tweeted, "I want to be clear about the goals of the United States," and he was. The important interest of the United States and its allies in the defense of democracy, sovereignty, and the rule of law will be advanced by the positive objectives he stressed, namely the restoration of Ukraine's independence and capacity to determine its future. It's clear from Biden's phrase choice that the United States favors a democratic, independent, sovereign, and wealthy Ukraine. A democratic Ukraine will carry on the history of freely elected administrations it has established throughout its 30 years of independence. In spite of Russian opposition and corruption, it will keep giving in to Ukrainians' steadfast requests for more open government. A Ukraine that maintains its freedom to decide its own future course, including eventual membership in the European Union or NATO, is one that is independent and sovereign. Russia is attempting to encircle Ukraine's remaining coastline, particularly the port of Odessa, in order to choke off its economy and prevent it from becoming affluent. But what was Putin's primary objective? The main goal of the Russian leader was to invade Ukraine, overthrow its government, and put an end to Ukraine's aspirations to join NATO, a Western defensive alliance. He gave up trying to take over the Ukrainian capital Kyiv after a month of failures and shifted his attention to the east and south of the country. He declared his intention to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine when he began the invasion on February 24. His stated goal was to defend those he claimed had been the targets of the Ukrainian government's 8 years of intimidation and genocide. Assuring Ukraine's neutrality was shortly added as a new goal. While head of foreign intelligence Sergei Naryshkin asserted that Russia's destiny and its future status in the world are at stake, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov spoke of releasing Ukraine from despotism. "The adversary has classified me as target number 1. My family is target number 2, declared Volodymyr Zelensky, the democratically elected president of Ukraine. The Russian military allegedly made 2 attempts to breach the presidential compound, according to his advisor. The president of Russia resisted using the terms invasion or war. Moscow has continued to refer to the largest conflict in Europe since 1945 as a special military operation. The allegations of Nazis and genocide in Ukraine are wholly baseless, but they are part of a story that Russia has been reiterating for years. Dmytro Kuleba, the foreign minister of Ukraine, remarked, "It's absurd. Sometimes not even they can understand what they're referring to. The Nazification is necessarily also the Ukrainization, erasing the modern state, as stated in an opinion piece by the state-run news outlet RIA Novosti. And the world community has now accused Russia of committing war crimes. A few nations such as the US and Canada go even further and label it genocide." The Russian leader's remarks, "It is not our aim to take the Ukrainian territory. We do not seek to impose anything on anyone by force," ring quite hollow now after so much devastation. As part of any future peace process with Russia, Biden reaffirmed that he will not pressure Ukraine, in private or in public, to make any territorial concessions. Instead, he claimed American military assistance is intended to assist Ukrainians in self-defense to be in the strongest possible position at the bargaining table. Contrary to recommendations made last week, particularly by former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, this strategy does not call for Ukraine to hand over to Russia the Crimean Peninsula or parts of the Donbass that Russia annexed in 2014. Zelensky vehemently denounced the idea, saying it was reminiscent of the 1938 Munich Agreement, which saw Czechoslovakia forced to hand over its Sudetenland territory to Nazi Germany by European countries. Policymakers in the United States and other countries should take heed of the mounting evidence that Zelensky's commitment to continuing the fight for Ukraine truly captures Ukrainian opinions. Zelensky actively seeks out regular touch with Ukrainian citizens, in stark contrast to Putin's apparent personal seclusion, which is visually depicted by his meetings with infrequent formal visitors across an impossibly long table. 94% of Ukrainians approve of Zelensky's performance so far since the war started, according to this month's poll by the independent polling organization in Ukraine, the Rating Group, which is maintaining wartime monitoring of public opinion. Providing Ukraine with highly effective defense weapons is one way to accomplish the US aim of a Ukraine with the means to prevent and protect itself against further aggression, which Biden stated. In his piece, he declared that the United States would provide Ukraine with sophisticated long-range rocket weapons, which have recently grown more crucial as the conflict has moved to southeast Ukraine's vast open steppe. According to a US defense official last week, Ukraine has so far deployed 85 of the 108 howitzers that the United States and its allies have previously given, with a maximum range of 25 miles. The 50-mile range munitions will be carried by the rocket launcher that Biden referenced in his piece. The European Union's decision to halt 90% of Russian oil supplies to Europe by the end of the year on Tuesday, and Germany's declaration that it will provide more sophisticated longer-range anti-aircraft missiles to Ukraine support those US efforts. A global rejection of Russia's unprovoked attack and support for its victims' self-defense is the first step in any ultimate peace process that can safeguard the fundamental rights of nations to freedom and democracy. The brutality and criminality of Russia's aggression, as President Biden stated in a letter on Tuesday, make American and world support for Ukraine a serious moral problem, not only the right thing to do, but also in our essential national interests. Maintaining that unmistakable message for Americans, Ukrainians, other allies, and, yes, Russians, is a step toward bringing about a just peace in the brutalized Ukraine, as well as maintaining the possibility that such wars may come to an end globally. Western politicians are no longer in denial after witnessing Mr. Putin's determination to destroy European cities in order to further his objectives. Anyway, what do you all think about this? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. With that being said, see you in the next one. Until then, peace.